Deku has come a long way since the beginning of My Hero Academia, but that doesn't mean people still don't underestimate the little guy. Deku's been put in situations where he's constantly counted out by those around him, only to rise up and exceed expectations. Not bad at all for a kid who cries enough to fill buckets, eh? Today in this video, we'll be exploring all the times Deku was underestimated, so let's jump right in. Getting into UA. Anyone who meets Deku knows within like the first 5 seconds that he's determined and passionate to be the greatest hero ever. Just like his idol, All Might. He definitely has the potential ever since All Might bestowed upon him the powerful one-for-all quirk. But before that, he was just a normal quirkless kid, desperate to prove himself in any way he could. Even though he lacked a quirk, except for maybe the sad human punching bag quirk, he never gave up on his dream. This included going to UA, the extremely competitive hero school with a rumored 2% acceptance rate. How would his fellow classmates react to hearing that Deku, the seemingly only one in the class without an ability, wants to try to get in? Well, let's just say kids are cruel. They all burst into hysterics at the thought of Deku applying to the prestigious academy. All that laughter is enough to send any kid straight into the arms of the nearest therapist, but perhaps worse than all his classmates laughing in his face is Bakugo's reaction. Thankfully, Deku did prove everyone wrong and got into UA. The Sludge Monster. To be fair, almost anyone would underestimate a small, random teenager walking alone through a dark tunnel laughing maniacally to himself. That just practically screams, "I am not a major threat." As Deku tries to hype himself up and remain positive about his hero's prospects, he's suddenly attacked by a gigantic sludge monster who just narrowly avoided All Might earlier in the day. The Sludge Monster's plan is a simple one: take control of Deku's body and wear him like a skin suit so it can escape the city undetected. All seems lost for poor Deku as the Sludge Monster details how it's going to slither into his body and take over his mind. Thankfully, this was just the first episode of the series, so we were pretty sure Deku was going to find a way out of that situation. Of course, All Might shows up to save the day and rescue Deku from becoming a human ventriloquist doll. Although Deku wasn't able to save himself, this interaction with All Might sets Deku on the path to never be underestimated again. Entrance Exam. After Deku eats All Might's hair and goes on a sick training montage, the young wannabe hero is finally ready for UA's feared entrance exam. Sure, he may still be wildly ill-equipped to handle One-for-All's immense power, but at least Deku gets to rock a six-pack now. But even though he's taken a step closer to becoming a hero with a shiny new quirk, he's still vastly underestimated by all the applicants at the entrance exam. He first gets called out by Tenya for his constant endless mumbling, and then clashes with the bespectacled Rocket Legs again when he acts weird around Uraraka. Maybe it's because Tenya looks like a 35-year-old man rather than a teenage boy. Deku doesn't do much to get people on his side during the exam either, as he's crippled by fear and unable to move, and people quickly write him off. Only after the very last obstacle, a gigantic robot appears and starts smashing everything in sight, does Deku get noticed. Finally overcoming his fear, Deku smashes the robot and silences his critics who thought he was useless. Quirk Apprehension Test. What's the point of all of Deku's immense newfound power if he can't control it properly? That's the first big question that's asked on Deku's first day at UA, where he goes up against the no-nonsense teacher Shoto Aizawa, aka Eraserhead. Immediately, Aizawa makes the students undergo a Quirk Apprehension Test, with the threat of the last place person being expelled. Although Deku is now known to wield a crazy amount of power, Aizawa is quick to point out that there's no point if he doesn't know how to use it. When Deku first tries to throw a softball using the quirk, Aizawa quickly nullifies his quirk. Deku wants to prove himself, but Aizawa isn't having it. He claims it was unfair for Deku to ever have been accepted at UA due to the lack of his control and tells him he'll never become a hero like that. Of course, Deku finds a way to throw the ball without breaking his entire arm, thus proving Aizawa wrong. Thank goodness too, because although Aizawa says he isn't going to expel anyone, a conversation with All Might later reveals that it was a total possibility, and Deku helps change his mind. On a boat. We can think of no greater punishment than being trapped in a small space with Mineta. Okay, maybe being trapped in a small space with Mineta and surrounded by villains who want to hurt you is slightly worse, but that's the situation Deku finds himself in during the USJ arc of the story. Although meant to be a training exercise in a variety of different environments, real villains quickly crash the party and send all the kids in groups going different directions. When he's transported away, Deku is sent to the shipwreck zone along with Mineta and Tsuya, and let's be honest, if you're in a water zone of any kind, you're definitely lucky to have Tsuya with you. The villains chasing them aren't here to mess around. A shark-headed villain almost turns Deku into fish chum before Tsuya saves him, and the three students wind up trapped on a boat with bad guys all around them. Although cautious, since the villains don't know what our heroes' quirks are, they're still not expecting much from this group. Using some quick thinking and smart strategy, Deku comes up with a plan that takes care of the baddies and helps them escape. Even Mineta was useful. Shoto. How could somebody not love Shoto Todoroki? He's not only one of the show's strongest heroes, but his character development during the sports festival arc melted all of our hearts, and it all started by being in direct competition with Deku. Before the sports festival, All Might tells Deku to show the world what he's capable of doing in the sports festival, and show he's the All Might of his new generation. Well, Deku feels more than up to the task. There's someone more than willing to take him down a peg, the human icy hot Shoto. On the day the festival starts, Shoto approaches Deku and flat out tells him he's stronger and will defeat him, and you know what? Deku kind of agrees. Deku tells Shoto that because everyone else is trying so hard, he owes it to himself and All Might to try hard too. He won't give up that easily. Luckily, their hostility doesn't last too long, as when they finally face each other on the battlefield, Deku loses the battle, but wins the war as he helps Shoto solve his biggest problem, and sets him on the path toward being a true hero. All Might. For their final exams at the end of the term, the students in Class 1A are shocked to find out their big test will involve taking on a UA teacher in combat. Now, we're sure everyone's wanted to fight their teacher at some point in their lives, but it's a little different when these teachers are made up of some of the strongest heroes ever. And the bad news keeps coming. Deku learns that not only is he being paired with his rival Bakugo, but that the two of them will be facing All Might. Is it too late for them to drop out? In this battle, the two frenemies must find a way to work together to survive. And surprisingly, it's All Might himself who underestimates the two of them. Their mission is to either escape or beat All Might. Obviously, beating All Might is close to impossible, so Bakugo eventually tries to distract All Might long enough for Deku to cross the finish line. But as All Might turns Bakugo into Swiss cheese, he didn't expect Deku to come back and rescue the hothead so they could cross the finish line together. It allows Deku to get the drop on the hero and stun him long enough for them to win. Two heroes. The My Hero Academia movie takes place before Season 3, so although fans already said their goodbyes to All Might the hero and hello to All Might the walking skeleton, the movie gave people a chance to see All Might in action one more time. The plot revolves around almost all of Class 1A heading to Eye Island, an artificial island built for scientists to research quirks for the famed Eye Expo. Of course, what's a movie without a conflict? So pretty soon, dastardly villains show up and quickly take over everything. But of course, the villains were so busy with the big guns like All Might that they never bothered to worry about the scrappy students in Class 1A. Deku and everyone else bravely decide that they can't run away, but rather have to fight to save everyone like true heroes. We won't go too much into spoiler territory in case you haven't seen it yet, but we'll just say there's an All Might and Deku team-up that should be enough to make nobody ever underestimate Deku again. Muscular. If the bad guy you're fighting is known just as Muscular, it's a safe bet to guess that the dude will probably be pretty strong. During the forest training arc, villains naturally attack Class 1A with the goal of capturing Bakugo. In the middle of this fight, Deku realizes the young boy Kota is missing and sets out to find him. Unfortunately, Kota has come across the uber-strong villain Muscular, and now Deku has to step up to save him. This is really the first one-on-one villain fight for Deku, and Muscular can obviously see how inexperienced Deku is. The bad guy calls all his attack attempts super obvious and comments how naive it is for Deku to want to save Kota. It's not even enough for Deku to give a 100% powered Delaware Detroit smash, as that practically does nothing to the hulked out villain. It forces Deku to do something incredibly dangerous and hit him with a 1,000,000% Delaware Detroit smash, which finally breaks through the villain's tough exterior. Although Deku was able to squeak out a victory against Muscular, the resulting consequences extract a heavy toll. Now his arms are incredibly weak, and another big attack from them will cause him to lose feeling in them forever. Bakugo. To say Bakugo has a complicated relationship with Deku is a bit of an understatement. A better way to put it is that Deku's a bottle of soda and Bakugo's a pack of Mentos. Put them together and there's bound to be an explosion of some sort. That's what happens when Bakugo figures out the secret behind Deku's quirk and takes him to an open training area in order to vent his frustrations. In this fight, Bakugo is even more angry than he normally is, and that's really saying something. He's torn up inside over thinking All Might's retirement is his fault because of when he was captured by All For One, and is having trouble grasping the fact that All Might, who Bakugo looks up to more than anything, gave his ability to Deku, who Bakugo considered nothing more than pond scum. The two of them fight, and although Deku increases his power limit to match Bakugo, the hothead still outmaneuvers Deku and ends up beating him. He openly questions how Deku lost if he's supposed to have the world's strongest power, and yes, even though Bakugo outsmarted Deku and won the fight, we still have to chalk it up to Deku not overloading his power output and still testing out his brand new kick-based fighting style. And those are just some of the moments where Deku was underestimated. Are there any other times that deserve to be on this list? Has Deku finally grown to a place where he won't be underestimated anymore? Be sure to leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more awesome anime content. Thanks for watching.